And we are live. What is going on, guys? I was just on another podcast, so I'm back again. This time I am chatting with Ollie Baxxter of Broadside about his new poetry book that I am so excited about. And I am super excited to be able to talk with him tonight. So, how are you doing?
Very well. Thank you for that nice introduction. I'm doing very well. I'm on my balcony and the sun's about to go down, so I'm pretty spoiled at the situation in my life. So can't complain. My dog is at my feet, thinking I have some sort of food. It's just tea, baby. It's just tea. So, but yeah, I'm
Well, you
good.
know what? My dog loves tea. He loves anything. If you have anything in your hand, he's looking at you and he's like, "For me," and I'm like, "Oh no, okay, I'll give it to you."
I love. You're like, well, since you didn't ask, but you definitely asked. Here,
Yeah,
I know
since
that
you
look.
gave me those eyes, I have
Hmm.
to. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about You, Me, and the Moon, and then your newest book that you have coming out called "Is There Anything Left for the Rest of Us?"
Hmm. For sure.
So,
Yeah.
so clearly, as I said, you were also in the band Broadside. So, what came first? Was it like the writing for you? Was it the music, or was it kind of always both? Like you were always a writer, you were always a musician, and then you just kind of decided that you wanted to do both.
So actually, I'm gonna walk you inside here, and my Wi-Fi is fine, so there shouldn't be any worries. But I forgot my neighbors are just always outside, which But anyway, so yeah, so basically, what came? Let me set up here so you don't get motion sick here. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Nice and simple. All right, so basically, I came to when I was trying to develop lyrics in the beginning. I realized that I didn't want to say too much or too little because I have a habit of oversharing.
Mm-hmm.
So, what my big focus with writing lyrics in the beginning was I was trying to set them up like short stories to have a beginning, middle, and end. And at the time, I didn't know what I was doing, so it was just getting all that emotions out there and making sure that people left every song with a sense of like, okay, cool, there's that, I can move on. And I don't know why I started thinking like that, but I think it's just how I like to consume things. I don't love a 6 year wait period between the type of things that I like to consume regularly. So I just kind of like big bursts, get them in, and so that I think just kind of translated into my writing as well. And um, I thought that I didn't understand writing when I first approached it because I didn't go to college or anything like that, and I wasn't like the smartest in school or anything like that. But I'm a very avid reader, so I was like, all right, well, I'll just kind of write around the things that I know or the people that I've read in the past. So ultimately, at first I was very uncomfortable, and but then I realized that well, writers write. Like if I write words down, I'm a writer. So I kind of took the
Mm-hmm.
pressure off that, and then I realized, oh, I've been writing a bunch of sad shit about my entire life this whole time, whether I'm singing it or it's on a page hoping to be consumed by a stranger. So I feel like I think they just kind of came together eventually, and now I just kind of I own it, and I'm not scared to say like, yeah, I'm a writer, and I just want to convey things in the medium of like a story. Like you would hear it and people would say, wow, that was awesome. Because I found that most of the things that out to me in memories I've had with people always are in these quick little moments. And I think that's what really got me. Realizing that the two actually didn't have a divide between them. It's the same thing. I want people to hear a song, immediately like it, and I want people to read something and go, okay, cool, this isn't just another white guy that writes poetry.
Right. Right. So, I write a little bit myself too. I don't have the balls, so to speak, to put it out in the world, but sometimes I'll like put it on my
Difficult.
Snapchat story, and people
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, that's cool," and I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." But I know, and this is probably a stupid question, but I write about like experiences in my life, and
Hmm.
you know. It's not necessarily a poem. It's just like me just thinking something in my head and being like, okay, well, here's how I'm feeling right now. Like,
Yeah.
is that kind of like what you do too? Like, is that kind of like your process too?
Yeah, I generally find that I have a comfort zone, and my comfort is exploiting my own like childhood trauma. which is not healthy long term. But ultimately, I think writing right now, it really helps me understand as I've gotten older and I've grown into being a young man. It was kind of bizarre to think, what would I do if I had kids at this age? And so now I'm experiencing those things that I've kind of expressed through writing and songs. I'm experiencing from a new lens as an adult man, thinking like, oh, now what is it like? Not what is it like being 21 years old and experiencing this, but what is it like, later in life? And so I think when I sit down, I just kind of say, where does it take me? And then I just kind of dive into that. I try to say like, okay, I don't really theme or plot it out anymore as much as I just kind of write exactly how I'm feeling, the more the energy that I'm feeling at the time. And then if I'm in a terrible mood, and I'll just go in, that's when I'll put in the work and I start to think, how do I feel right now? What did this feel like? But if it's nothing there, I'll just walk away, because I find oftentimes if you sit down and you try to make something out of nothing, nothing will come.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And writer's block is like a real thing. Like,
oh, yeah.
You could sit there and you could be like, okay, I have this really good idea. My ideas always come to me at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
I wake up out of a dead sleep. I'm like, perfect idea. And I'm like, I'll remember this tomorrow.
No.
I wake up and I never remember it. It never comes back.
Yeah.
It like pats its bags and like moves to, I don't know, Idaho or something. I don't know.
It's like you had your chance. What, you don't love me? I'm out.
Yeah. It's just like, fine. I see how it is. But, and I saw on your Instagram that you actually painted the cover to Is There Anything Left for the Rest of Us? So
Yeah.
Where did that inspiration kind of come from for that? Or was that just like you were kind of just sitting there and you just kind of started painting and that happened? Or what, did you have something in mind when you were doing that?
So I have this crazy obsession with like dark imagery and grim reapers. I have a few like tattooed on my body. Not because I'm like, I mean, obviously I love the occult and stuff like that, but I'm not like, over analyzing of it. I've always loved the idea that there's this gnarly visual of death throughout history of like a skeleton in these big robes. I don't know why, I just always been really attracted to that. So I kind of thought about what the topics that I write about in this collection of poems is probably the first time that I'm actually writing for self as opposed to anyone else. And so I kind of thought about the perspective of like, well, what does it look like that I'm like who I am, and I try to make people laugh, and I like try to get joy out of the people that I'm with, but every time I'm around just myself or with my own loneliness, I have these miserable, god awful thoughts about myself, and it made me feel like a phony. So I thought, wouldn't it be hilarious if the Grim Reaper couldn't kill you and didn't meet you at the end of your life, but he just sat with you, very on display. So I was like, well, you take a Grim Reaper and you put him in like these neon colors, and imagine if you just had someone that just sat with you and listened to you, as opposed to say like, hey, time to pack it up. And it's kind of how I felt with writing this stuff and writing my truth and how I'm feeling about, quite frankly, just a lot of days are miserable for me for the past, however much time. And I felt like, well, if anybody else is going to relate to this, they'll kind of get that energy as well. So I thought a neon Grim Reaper that isn't so dark and brooding, and he's more just like on display for the whole world, but they know his purpose ultimately.
Wow.
Yeah, submerged it.
No, I was just like listening. I was like, wow, that was like such an in-depth like meaning. I was like, that's so cool. Because sometimes, and sometimes I'll talk with people and I'll ask them like, what's the imagery behind your album? They're just like, oh, like I like zombie tigers, so I thought that would be really dope. Which, I mean, that would be really dope. I mean, I love horror too.
No
I got a whole horror sleeve, but you got a whole, different meaning there. And, so do you feel that like the days have been miserable for the past like year or so, or just like for, a long time, and that's kind of where the Grim Reaper kind of came from? Like, is that like a reflection of the past year or the past 10 years or just in general?
I think I was born into misery, quite frankly. And I think my testament to life has been like climbing out of it. So I found the best strength when the band got signed, or like those moments that are long-term material, though
Mm-hmm.
they're great bouts of success, I think it started to create this whirlwind of, well, if it's not better than that, then it's not worth trying to accomplish. And I got obsessed with trying to like one up myself. And then that became a rat race of comparison to every other band or whatever. And I think it just started to steal all my joy that I did collectively build up from doing well in the band. And I just had like a shit label in the beginning. And then, like, I lost a lot of my friends, my bandmates through sketchy shit or just like them getting older and wanting to do their own thing, rightfully so. And us never hitting that like success moment, that like big band moment, but then also feeling the crippling guilt of like knowing that we have succeeded in so many ways, that
Right.
many people would literally kill to have for. And so I just started like exploiting myself, I think, because I realized like that's what worked in the beginning. And I think ultimately I just got older and shit just got worse with family and just like things fall apart and people change. And I think all along the way I wasn't like building myself up. I was building up the idea of who I wanted to be. And then some shit happened in my life that made me just stop and look around and realize there's no foundation. And like I just feel like lost in purpose. And I also find it strange that I want and feel the need to have a purpose.
Right.
It's like I'm obsessed with that, and like usually people, they can shake themselves out of it, but it's like, I don't know what happens to the person that dreams every night about a golden apple, but then gets to the end of their life and they realize they've never had a golden apple. Like, what the fuck happens? And I think that's where I'm at now, which is not happy, and it's not good, and I know it's not healthy, and I'm definitely seeking ways to get out of this self-made curse. But it's just something that came that I did not. There's a section in my new book called "The Guest That Never Left," and that's kind of how I feel about like rage and depression. Like one day you realize I'm fucked up.
Right.
I'm not like whatever. I'm not like whoever that you see. You're not like people in movies. You realize, fuck, something within me is getting me to A to Z, and my life has now become trying to fill in those two.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what depression feels like. It's like trying to swim and learning how to swim while trying not to sink, and also trying to figure out why you're depressed in the first place. And that shit is so consuming when you're in it. When you're out of it, you're like, I'm having a good day. Like, I'm at the Target section getting Halloween decorations. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
But then, you might go outside and something happens or just nothing happens. And I think that sucks that we're not born with a manual like a car to be like, how do we fix this?
Right.
And so that's what this book approaches, is just like, is there anything left for the rest of us? Like the people who overthink, the people who can't answer questions, the people who feel empty in crowded places, the people who are not knowing that they're searching for something that they'll never find. Like, I know I'm pretty doomy gloomy, but ultimately I do hope to find fulfillment. I don't want to live my life and it be worthless. I want to be fulfilled, and I want other people to feel fulfilled too. And I think that's my ultimate purpose in life. And I think that's why I started taking a step towards writing, was to hopefully achieve that in this form, because maybe I feel like sometimes the band might not get me there,
Right.
Yeah. And that's nothing against the band. It's just the world is so fast. How can you hear everything,
Mm-hmm. I feel like, compared to listening to music as to, actually physically reading the words, like I myself am an avid reader. I always have been. I feel like there's nothing that compares to, reading, be it, like a Robert Frost poem or, an Edgar Allan Poe book about a fucking crow knocking on your door at 2:00 in the morning. Like to me, there's like they hearing the sadness, and then they're seeing it, visualizing it, and feeling it. And I feel like you can get that from music, but you get it more so from writing too, because it helps you look at, not only that person but yourself, and you're like, wow, okay, somebody else is feeling this, somebody else is going through this, like this is not just me, like I am not, just some fucked up kid.
Right. No, exactly. Exactly. And I feel that the people that can get that from words, if they do find, when they find something they like it, and I'm kind of hoping to find that audience as well. And obviously it's like the band is still doing its thing, but it's like, I mean, moving forward and everything like that, it's going to be a rat race when the world opens up, it's going to be like everyone trying to get on every tour, trying to get on everything. And it's like, it's terrifying, and
Right.
I don't know. I'm just, like I said, I'm just getting older, and I just want to set myself up, because like I don't have shit else, like I kind of just figured this part of my life out, and I just want to keep doing that, and just keep taking care of the people around me, and just keep being a good man. I just want to make people proud, I think. And what's crazy is like it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't know why I'm obsessed with that. I think some people definitely get obsessed with like needing to feel loved by others to a big extent. Rightfully so, or admittedly, I'll say I am one of those people, and I don't know where along the lines I became that way, but I want to do something good with all that. I
Right.
just want to do something good, and I don't know what that good is, but I just want to do something, and I hope
Right.
that when it comes, it'll consume me.
Yeah. It's like it's like you're looking for something, and you have all this stuff, and you know that like those are kind of the pieces to what you want, but you haven't found exactly what it is yet.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel right now. I just feel like I'm like, I want more, and I'm willing to do whatever, but I feel as if I'm frozen, like my feet are steel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I think that, I've been a huge fan of your work as, be it through Broadside or your poetry for many, many years. And I think that a lot of what drew me into your band and you as a person in the first place is the fact that, you can feel what you're feeling through your writings. And you're like, okay, well, again, I'm not the only one, and I'm looking for something more. So is this person, so it's okay that I don't know what my purpose is.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that, because it is important. And I feel that the best thing that I've learned from touring all these years is meeting the people that just come up to you and they just want to say like, hey, like I just wanted you to know that I exist and thank you. And I find it so incredible that people just want other people to know that in some way that you connected them with either something else or you as a person. And I think that's the best reward I've ever been given by being in a band pre-COVID, is when people can just come up and say, hey, like I connected to some that sad shit you said on stage or whatever. And you're like, cool. Like it doesn't always have to be just like hot people on the internet winning in life. Like
Right.
you can go out there and connect through the reality of life. And sometimes the reality is that it fucking sucks. But like it doesn't mean it's the end. It just means like, I just need to get high and go to sleep or something. I don't know. Like that's all that means sometimes. And
Right.
so it's nice when people can relish in the comfort of just being like, okay, not the best person in the world. Or
Yeah.
not feeling the best.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the internet is a good and a bad place for that, because you can connect with others who feel like you, but then you look at other people on the internet and you're like, well, why can't I have that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really a double-edged sword. Like, you'll see like, other bands or other people, and you're just like, wow, they're doing so good. Like, I wish I had that. And I feel like as a society, we've grown to a point that we idolize other people so much that we forget that, yeah, we're not alone in the way we feel, but, our lives are different.
That's a good point. And it's come worse to that, where we idolize people's success. And you almost forget, you look at someone and you say, why don't I have that? But you're not seeing the rest, and or you're not seeing the obvious. You see what I'm saying? Like
Right.
People are like, why don't I have that? And it's like, well, are you uploading 7 days a week?
Right.
Because they
Right.
are.
Right. Or,
So
people are like, oh, well, this person has that. Okay, but you don't know what they're like as a person. They could be the
exactly.
biggest piece of shit on this planet,
And feel like crippling anxiety in Trader Joe's, But
Yeah.
like you never know what the hell. But that's the worst part, is like that's almost the point of the internet sometimes. To some people. Some
Right.
people consume the internet through means of just apps, right? I personally
Mhm.
love forums and like learning and YouTube and all this other shit. So like the internet for me is like a giant playground.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, and especially young people, use just the apps, like the social apps. So a
Mhm.
lot of that is just like the best looking, quickest information gathering, coolest. There's no fucking spotless on the shirt. Like it's all been lint rolled moments, right?
Yeah.
And that's how that works. It's they figured out a formula, not an algorithm. I'm not even talking about the algorithms. I'm talking about like they see what works and they're like, that's me. And then you just get people just cloning themselves. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
nobody's original anymore. And I always say that about movies. It feels like nobody
True.
like has any
Dude,
originality. Like they just
preach.
throw like a bunch of remakes at you. They're just like, yep, we're out of ideas. Here you go.
Video games too. Like
Yep.
video games are just like, oh, here's Skyrim. It's like that game is 10 years old and they're still putting out modern versions of it. I love it.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but it does feel like the whole world is like, well, we can't afford to pay artists. So like, let's just get in the like 5 best directors of the world. Just make them make all the movies
Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to a movie, let's just do Marvel and let's do the Halloween franchise for like the 80th time.
forever because for
Yeah.
some reason, trust me, we know the people. Trust me, we know what they want.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Marvel movies. I love Halloween, but I mean, I
Give
want
me something.
something. Yeah, something
You know,
else. Anything. At this point, anything else. Like, I would literally watch a film with no dialogue whatsoever at this point.
I, you know what I think is going to happen? Going to be like a revelation, and it's going to be a bunch of people. Just the flood walls are going to snap. Right, these giant mega companies that own Fox and da 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 are going to eventually crumble, and they're going to be like, "What should we do?" And then they're going to go down to the intern level, and they're going to be like, "Does anybody know how to write films?" And like the whole room is going to be like, "Yeah, we do, dude. That's why we got an internship." Then we're going to have a bust of just great movies, and they're just
Yeah.
locked away at all these office buildings, interning for all these stupid fucking people.
Yeah. Yeah. And while the intern's out getting you coffee, you're just sitting there being like, "Yep, this is good. Give them another Halloween." Like,
They're like, we don't even have to write it. We could just kind of like copy the second half, just put in the first half, just copy paste it, bro.
yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Um but in terms of is there anything left for the rest of us?
Hmm.
What do you think is the piece from that you connect with the most, aside from I know that we had mentioned the whole thing you really connect with, but is there a
Yeah.
specific collection that you more so connect with?
So at the end of the book, I wrote about it's kind of like a hippie body out of body experience, but it's more just like it's the idea that I meet the Grim Reaper, right? And he's like, I'm like, let's just watch the sun set. And he's basically saying like, if I sit here and watch you sit alone, it's just sad, you know? And it's romantic because you're asking for help. But if we sit here together and the sun rises on us, then it's just sad. You're just waking up a dead man. So he says, we can't sit here. So close your eyes. And then it's just a moment of like, if I close my eyes, am I going to be like strong enough to wake him back up? And then the idea is you don't know. And that's how the book ends. And then as a fun little tidbit, I'm trying to move into writing. I'm like almost finished with this book of short stories, and I'm trying to move in from poetry to the short story world. I think that's where I'm going. So at the very end, I put in the first chapter of my short story collection as like a secret. So I'm telling you that, but it's going to be cool because then I like everybody can kind of cringe at poetry if you want. I get it. If it's not for everybody, sure. But like a good short story, I mean, you know, there's a lot of things built on the backbone of a good short story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of hoping to kind of be like, oh, look, I got some other talents here, you know. But it also is kind of like the birth of a new, because it starts out as my childhood growing up in a trailer park in Las Vegas and ends with me as an adult man sitting on a bench praying for death, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just me saying like, I'm not afraid to edit. Like I was so scared to say and talk about the things I wanted to with the band because our audience was younger, and I felt bad writing songs that say I don't want to die, I want to win, but feeling like, but you know, just feeling god awful in
Right.
my own skin. But now with my writing, I really just said fuck it, if I'm going to be honest, and I was just like, I mean, I'll find my people, you know, I'll find my tribe with writing. Like I got lucky and found my tribe with music, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like that piece a lot because it feels authentic and not. I like to describe all these heavy things in feelings. So I like to try to emphasize certain things and not so like, oh, like I know the idea of sitting on a bench with the Grim Reapers, like, oh, cringe. But it's also like, just imagine it. Just imagine just sitting with the option. And it's a lot. It's a lot it's a lot to take in. Because most of us feel like we don't have control. You know, so I think that's what I'm aiming to do is get back control of my own life, in my own head. I think I've told
Yeah.
myself so much for so long that I started to believe it, and I gotta figure out what am I made of? What is the man? What does this guy do? You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely, definitely see what you're saying. Because when you were
Mm-hmm.
telling me about the Grim Reaper sitting on the bench, I was sitting here imagining it. I was like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
that's, like, you know, it's one of those things. I feel like, you know, you can either imagine it or, you know, you'll just say, oh, okay, you know, here's another poem. Okay, next page. You know,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
yeah, but the short stories I'm super excited for.
I'm really excited to move into that because it just feels more, like I said, authentic to what I'm trying to do now. Same, but different. More beef in the sandwich. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Before it was just like
Yeah.
the avocado toast, and now we're rocking with the entree. You feel me?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Hopefully, we're rocking with an entree.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? The entree better be those cauliflower hot wings. Love
Oh,
those.
let's go. I can't get
Yeah.
enough of those. I think I became an addict to cauliflower. My whole life I
Oh,
thought whatever, but then I found those and I was like,
yeah. It's like, okay, you're on to something here.
this
Yeah.
is cauliflower. Who knew? You just throw a bunch of hot sauce on it. Okay.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. I
It's so
love it.
good.
And I love it. I love it plain. Like I love it just breaded. I'm just like, oh my God,
Mm,
this is the best thing I've ever had.
preach.
But, you know, in terms of like the short story, do you
Mm,
think that you would ever branch that out into movie rights? And if you did,
mm.
who would you want to produce the movie? Or
All right.
series, because I know series are like a big thing now and not
I
so much
know.
movies. Yeah.
I would love I would love a HBO series because they can get the raunchy bits. Because what I'm trying to go with my the vision that I have is when I'm writing this story, it's like I lived in a trailer park and I saw some like gnarly wild shit. Like Las Vegas in the '90s was just so freaky, right? But the funny thing is, I was a kid, so I was like having a blast. Like, so it's all these moments of come to moments of like, oh damn, I didn't realize we were poor until, and that's the setup for one story, or like, oh blah 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 blah. I didn't realize my best friend who slept outside on his mattress, that is outside of the trailer. I thought that was just a cool bedroom that had a tarp around it, not like, oh, there's too many kids and your dad refuses to stop creating children, even though you're both unemployed and suffering and domestic violence and yada, yada, yada. So it's all these like, but you're a kid and we sleep outside and it's all this, you know? So I'm trying to approach the like what it's like in the sense of like you just keep rolling. Because when you're a kid, you fall off your bike and you just ride home and then you cry and tell your parents. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of how I'm really trying to create the flow of this as opposed to like, man, that's really heavy. I wanted to feel like you just got like punched in the face, but then it was like, oh, but that was funny. That was like a 4D movie, you know,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, woe is me. I've done enough woe is me. I want to create the like, you feel for the child, but you want the child to be the hero, the
Right.
anti-hero. That's what I
Right.
want. That's where I want to go. And I want to, so I would
Hell
like the HBO because they're the like, they sometimes help you love the villain, and the
Yeah.
villain would in this sense would be a broken child, like a like the morality of good and bad, because certainly in certain lifestyles, early lifestyles with young impressionable youth, they can either go boom or boom, and that's society who packages that up for us. So
Hmm.
I think that it could be really cool. Plus, they would cover all the like wild stuff, like drugs and all that crazy shit, that I'm gonna write about again somehow. Try to make it be like, not woe is me, but wasn't this crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, and just taking like experiences like that, you look back in your childhood, you're like, damn, that was actually pretty wrong, but that was a crazy time. Like, shit.
I I had what connected me the most was I had the idea. I wrote like five of the stories, like the synopsis. I just wrote them out really quick, as quick as I could on like sticky notes. Then over the past year, I had time to lay down on the floor and write them out. But it was funny to just be like, oh wow, like okay, I got a whole book right here just off of thinking quick flashes. Like, wow, as an adult, that's messed up. Like,
Hmm.
and as a kid, I was
Right.
like, dude, it's so trippy. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with thinking with my adult brain, but imagining what was it? What was like what's 7-year-old Oliver like? So
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And like I said, you think back, you're like, yo, what the fuck? Like, yeah, but like when you're a kid, you're like, yo, that was pretty awesome. Like, and you're like, oh my God, no, no, that was
exactly.
not awesome. Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to feel like is you're like, holy shit, like yeah, there's just so I kept that in mind writing the whole thing, and I hope that people reading it are going to feel like, oh, I'm a little kid experiencing this. That's what I really want to get across. So I'm going to figure that out, and I think that'll be the first book that I actually try to help get like a. I mean, I've reached out to literary agents and stuff like that, but obviously they're not biting right now, or they want somebody that's like Charlie D'Amelio or some shit. So
Hmm.
um, with my own like understanding and fan base, I'm just kind of like putting this book out there and just going to be like, hey guys, can you help me by maybe buying it for a friend or something?
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick out with this one, but I think with that, I should probably take the more like official route. But I'll have plenty of time. I have a few stories that I need to finish, so I think I'm going to fly out to Vegas for like a week and just get like a hotel and just get a car and just drive around to like my old trailer park and like a bunch of these to get like the feeling. I think it would be a
Hmm.
nice level of authenticity that maybe I'm missing right now, because oftentimes you romanticize stuff that's not really the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And, I feel like sometimes when you put yourself back in that environment, because, as time goes on, we suppress a lot of stuff from our childhood and you're like, oh,
Hmm.
well, it was really like this, or I'm remembering this differently than how it
Hmm.
really was and things like that. So I really think, you know, that authenticity, I feel like that would be super cool. And, props to you for that, because some writers are just like, yeah, I'm going to take this from childhood, but I'm just going to take it off my memory. That's like, 35 years old and thinks way different now than I did when I was like 10.
I was thinking, hey Oliver, if this is gonna work for you, if you're gonna, if someone's gonna say like, hey, good book, kid, to you, and you feel like, wow, they said that to me, I have one chance at this. I have one chance to tell my childhood, and
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't, then it is. If it doesn't sizzle, then it's fine. But I'll be damned if I write a bad book. I'd rather write a great book that doesn't do well than have a shitty book that people are like about your own life. That would be so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
oh yeah, this was sucky. Somebody else should have wrote this guy's life.
Yeah. It's like, wow, I could have paid somebody to just write an autobiography.
Yeah, damn. I
Yeah.
should have went on Fiverr and just spent a couple $100.
Yeah. Yeah. Been like, looking for somebody to write my life story.
Here's some bullet points.
Yeah, right. Here's like the first 5 years. Here's the really important stuff. Oh
Yeah,
shit, that's a lot of trauma.
they're just like just in bullet point form. They're like reading the email, like, I don't know if I should do this.
Yeah, yeah. They're just like, oh my god. They're just like, yeah. Price just went up.
Yeah, they're like, oh, crazy.
Yeah, but no. That's super cool. And I mean,
Thank you.
my cousin is a writer, and she published some short stories. So I could like put you in touch with her and everything like that if you'd like, because
More, I
she's
would love that.
yeah, because she published full length novels and everything, and she's super super talented. She doesn't like to say she is, but she really is. So, Yeah, I could
That's
definitely put
awesome.
you in touch with her. And, even just like a writer to published writer, and, I'm trying to write this short story and
Yeah.
you did this, what did you do, etc., type thing.
That's the type of people that I need to have in my life. I realize that I isolated myself to people that I just want to take care of, but I really need to open my life back up to people who can help me understand me, even if that just means like soaking up some of their good energy or just talking about similarities. I
Right.
think that a lot of my isolation came from self, and I kind of got to, break back out. So I think meeting types of people like that would probably help me. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I have to thank you so much for coming on this podcast with me. This was, amazing. And as I said, when I met you at Warped Tour, I was like, holy shit. Like, and here we are 3 years later. It's crazy how that
Oh
stuff
yeah.
circles back around. It's just
Oh yeah.
crazy. Yeah. And
Thank
I
you.
really vibe with you. I feel like,
Mm,
we have a lot of the same mindset with things. So that's always super cool to talk with somebody, because, it's not like you're pulling answers out of somebody, like somebody could sit there and you'll be like, oh, so what were you thinking with this? He's like, I don't know. And you're like, well, can you explain further? He's just like, I don't know. But, when you vibe with somebody,
it
it's
flows
like,
like water,
yeah,
baby. Yeah.
yeah, it's just effortless. Like, I think that that's so cool, and I think that that's getting to be rarer and rarer, because a lot of people are just like, "Yep,
Mm.
I have no idea,"
Hmm. I don't
and I'm
like
like,
it when people aren't passionate about like I don't care if you stand outside and flip a sign in front of Domino's. Like tell me why, you know?
"Yeah,
Tell me why.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly."
But
So,
no, I appreciate your flow and your energy as well. It's been very, very nice, especially after, I haven't done many of these in the past year. So thank you for being so kind and yeah, just creating a good environment.
of course, yeah, that's what I shoot for, and
Mm,
I always love, like I said, I always love when I have fun people, and especially people that I've admired for a long time, creatively on my podcast.
thank
So
you.
this is truly an honor. So again, thank you so much. And my final question is, are you able to read us an excerpt from your new book?
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Give me some. Let me get the not for resale copy here.
Cool.
Which one should I read here, Sarah? Oh, I got some juicy here. All right. So this is the not for sale copy here, but I got all these notes in here with a bunch of. Oh, there it is. So let's see here. What kind of vibe are you in? I'm gonna read you the sections, okay? And you
Okay.
just pick one, and then I'll pick within that. So we have youth, the guest that never left, sex, floating, sinking, or death. Which section would you like to hear something from?
Floating.
All right, floating. Here we go. What if this is the moment we find out I can't read it all? All right, floating. All right, this one's cute. So this is about me and my fiance. We have a really nice big shower, and this is something that came to me one night. I swivel the toothpaste around my teeth and sneak glances of her body through the swirling steam in the mirror. After flossing and somewhere in between picking and prodding at the thinning skin beneath my eyes. I won't ask her if she thinks I'm starting to look as old as I am. Not tonight. The water moves down her body and washes away the soapy layer, revealing her polished legs. In spite of myself, I carry on the conversation and nose through her shelf of coveted serums and oils, hunting for an effect I could cling to. Brighten, depuff, moisturizing, oil-free, everything but reversing. The damage is done, and time itself cannot be nourished nor rejuvenated. Small talk rolls between us as I sulk back to the mirror and pluck the contacts from my eyes, staring back at the blurry stranger, somewhat satisfied.
Wow. Nice. Nice. I'm stoked. I can't wait to read it.
So
I
it's more
can't.
just like moments like that where I was like, let's just create some authenticity of self and not make something bigger than life, make it very like, there's some self-hatred in here. Interesting.
Yeah. Just like, wow, where'd that come from? Yeah.
Yeah, just a little moment, where you could be like, cool, I can really do something like that. It's not so like, I found her hair blowing in the wind. But that's fine too. Oh, did it cut off? Oh, wait, hold on.
Okay.
We're back. Sorry about that. I do not know what happened. It was probably me.
No, that's okay. You know what? It happens every time somebody gets kicked out of the stream at least once. So
Okay, good.
It's true to my fashion. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Thank you.
Yeah. But no, seriously, I am super stoked for the book. I truly can't wait to read it. And again, thank you so much for coming on this and talking with me and kind of, just straight up vibing, man. Like just straight up
No
vibing.
question. Vibes only. Honestly, I appreciate this. This was nice for me, especially on a Sunday, or was it Monday, Tuesday? Who cares?
Yeah.
No day. It's a good day.
I mean, time doesn't really exist, so.
You are right about that. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course, thank you. And everybody watching, make sure you check out Broadside, You, Me, and the Moon, and Is There Anything Left for the Rest of Us? Because Ollie is a great guy, and it was a privilege having him on this podcast.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you around, all right?
All right. Bye-bye.
Later.